11,000 men, women and children evicted in Morata 1. 70,000 students set their national exams today across the country. And various organizations in the country celebrate World Mental Health Day. Good evening, you're watching National MTV News. I'm Grace Papiali. Thank you for joining us. More than 11,000 people occupying the land on portion 2733 at Morata 1 in the nation's capital have been faced by the dilemma of being homeless in the city following a court order to evict the land, which will take place tomorrow. Occupants gathered today to raise their concern regarding the eviction notice.
New Bloc Association Executive Mike Korwa, speaking on behalf of the people, raised a few points that they want the government and the real estate company to consider before proceeding with the eviction tomorrow.
We are citizens of this country, we are taxpayers. 11,000. Comprising of 11,000, as I already said earlier. 11,000 man, Mipla paying tax here. And for the government, you not put him accommodation blow over the man. So that's why we bless tableau here. Taxi operators, bus operators, SME operators, school children, all professionals in life, they live here. So you like Rosa Mibla, good blah. At the end of the day, time Mibla, better you go like sports, one has to win, one has to lose.
Mr. Korwa says these points raised must be considered so to avoid any disturbance or problems. He said they are willing to vacate the land, but parties involved must consider their concern. Mr. Korwa also made a call to the government to intervene as citizens who will be hugely impacted from these evictions.
Chairman Blomi, I'm like him also. All executive blocks in, all like him also. Relocate us. Nothing else. This remain non-negotiable. I must stress that. Non-negotiable. At least you relocate Mipla. Mipla, good law-abiding citizens, and we want to go out on a good note. We don't want things to stand sour here like other settlements.
This dreadful situation is occurring at the event when grade 10s and 12s will be sitting for their national examination, and this has burdened a lot of parents. Speaking on behalf of the students was Stephanie Kauken, who was so emotional when she thought of how this situation will affect her small brothers and sisters who will be sitting for their exam.
And this university now like exam week.
Ms. Kauken made an appeal to the national government to consider the situation and assist where possible, highlighting that students residing in the area are the future human resource of the country and the government must step in and do something.
Grade 10 examination, university 2 examination, and plenty of install around all students no got picking up basira exam now. Why government in look sana step in? Look come down na comes to people na to.
Ms. Kauken said the community have been very peaceful and safe place when she moved in 4 years ago to further her studies at the UPNG when she couldn't afford the boarding accommodation. Ms. Kauken emphasized that if all these 11,000 people are let roaming the streets, there is a threat to increase in criminal activities in the city, and therefore the situation must be addressed for the betterment of both parties.
Street crime bagrolo city. Nothing was you you stop crime, you stop criminal activities in city, you increase more. Time was homeless. No stand no got up. Balgo steal, bal come up in robbery, or come up in pickpocket, no killing come up in city because you know smaller baglona. Do you provide any accommodation? Do you provide any relocation of people stop?
Meanwhile, the eviction will commence tomorrow as per the directives from the police. This follows a court order to dismiss the case between NCD and the 6th Estate Limited and Lands Department and Lands and Physical Planning Board. Sharon Engnui, National MTV News.
The Education Department is urging all citizens to work together to eliminate cheating in this national examination. Education Secretary Dr. Uke Kombra says cheating and other malpractices will result in non-certification.
More than 400 grade 10 students from Gordon Secondary School in the nation's capital were among over 70,000 grade 10 students from 213 high and secondary schools in the country who sat for their national exams today. Students commenced with mathematics in morning session and continued with personal development in afternoon session. Schools in the country have been urged to refrain from cheating, bribery and other malpractices as this can discredit efforts to improve the country's education system, thus bringing the country's examination and certification system into disrepute. The Department of Education have been delivering examinations in the recent years successfully, and this should continue in the future.
We have contained cheating of examinations since 2016. So in the last 6-7 years, we have no cheating or formal reporting of cheating taking place. There has been 1 or 2 incidents, but we have taken appropriate actions to discipline or correct. Cheating is equals to no certification, full stop. So therefore, we have no. We have a zero tolerance on cheating.
Meanwhile, the Deputy Academic Principal of Gordon Secondary School, Mr. Sergio Francis, says the grade 10s and grade 12s have been preparing well and are sitting for their exams.
And our teachers are very, very hardworking. And we did all the assessments on time, regardless of whatever the situation comes. Still, we managed with the remedial lessons, extra classes, Saturday lessons. Even during the term break holidays, our teachers were here to cover up the topics.
Examination for other subjects taken in lower secondary studies will continue in the next 3 days and will conclude this Friday. Next week, we'll see more than 300 grade 12 students from this secondary school to sit for their exams commencing on Monday next week. Jim John, National EMTV News.
An election petition for the Nuku Open electorate was heard before Justice Joseph Yagi at the National Court Waigani. A petition for written for directional hearing. Petition filed by Emmanuel Nassam challenging the incumbent member for Nuku Open and Public Service Minister Joseph Sungi and the Electoral Commission. The National Court has set the date for written for directional hearing, where 4 cases were set for this afternoon after 1 p.m. today. These 4 cases, the first election petition case before Justice Joseph Yagi this afternoon was election petition number 34 for the Nuku Open electorate election petition. This election petition filed by petitioner Emmanuel Nassam against the member for Nuku Open and Minister for Public Service Joseph Sungi and the Electoral Commission of PNG. Mr. Nassam petitions the National Court against the election or return of Joseph Sungi, the first respondent, as the successful candidate for the Nuku Open electorate. During the court session, the petitioner, Mr. Nassam, and first respondent Joseph Sungi was present for the hearing, with the absence of the Electoral Commission's representative on record. Matter as listed for directions hearing, lawyer representing Nassam, Counsel Nanda Pejudi, circulated the direction order draft to the 2 parties today, where she seek an adjournment from the court to give ample time for both Sungi's lawyer and the Electoral Commission to review the draft and return on another date. Meanwhile, Justice Yagi directed a question to Electoral Commission's lawyer, asking him whether the notice he filed was outside of the prescribed date. The EC's lawyer, in response, confirmed to the court that the notice of appearance filed by Tanda lawyers was outside of the prescribed date. Justice Yagi, in response, struck off the Electoral Commission's notice of appearance. The court's ruling is now for the case to return on the 19th of October. the first and second respondents, Joseph Sungi and Electoral Commission, to consider the circulated draft of notice by petitioner Emmanuel Nassam's lawyer, Counsel Nandape Judy. Parties are to appear in the next written date, 19th of October 2022. Notice of appearance filed by Tanda lawyers is now struck off by the court. This now leaves the Electoral Commission's lawyer to file a new notice of appearance to the court. The ethnic clash at Arima, which involved the reported death of 2 people, has spilled over this morning, with clashes continuing between the 2 ethnic groups. Yesterday afternoon, NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Gideon Ikumu and his men were on site to address aggrieved residents and the people of Marawaka at Mambu Block in Arima.
These were the scenes yesterday afternoon at Arima, in the nation's capital, where the tragic incident happened. It was reported that 2 people were murdered in front of Arimat in the early hours of Sunday morning. The incident has sparked reactions, with some ongoing serious confrontations between the 2 warring factions involved. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Gideon Ikumu yesterday afternoon addressed the people of Marawaka residing at Arima.
Issue blah blah, concern blah blah. Now I'm by go lo unblock government. Yes. City administration got part blame lo play. All political leaders blame me lo governor. Come go down long narblol triple members blame me. All to got part blow lo play ma. Police to me plagat part blow me plago.
Calls were made by the Marawaka people and concerned residents who reside there.
So can you see the bitterness that this group is facing? They cannot be continuously be subjected or harassed. We want some forward meeting and allow the governor, commissioner and your office, put him.
Lucy Singe, a mother's representative in the community, made an urgent appeal to NCD Governor Powes Pakop.
This is the city of Papua New Guinea, Mipla Nogat Narapla City. Why na ulba karem spia bunara na busnap stop? Mipla lusim lo place na kamya. Why you plagolo Australia lo panim city plo narpla man? You fix your own city.
The Marawaka people residing at Bamboo Block say they will not retaliate. They want peace to prevail. However, they have given relevant authorities, including NCD Governor Powes Pakop, Mosby North East member John Kaupa, and Prime Minister James Marape to intervene within 24 hours.
Government, you must look up this on a place. Make him something, make him in a way that Mipla people of Papua New Guinea, Mipla can settle good or good happen, and Mipla must run one time peace. Me innocent here. How may come kidding me house from me? Why are you going to stop now?
The situation at the Arima flyover bridge and surrounding communities is still tense, as police are working with community leaders to contain the situation. The general public, including motorists, have been advised to take precautions when taking the Arima flyover road and traveling around the suburb of Arima. Lindy Suharupa, National MTV News.
Law and order problems are increasing at Daru Island in South Fly District of Western Province and needs to be reduced. In recent days, fighting, stealing and others had increased, and community leaders are encouraged to step up and help address these ongoing problems. Local residents in Daru are also calling on both the provincial and district leaders to work together and reduce this issue to maintain peace and unity in the community. You're watching National MTV News. More stories after the break. Stay with us. You're You're watching National MTV News. Managing directors and key staff of both environmental agencies of PNG, the Conservation Environmental Protection Authority, or CEPA, and the Climate Change Developmental Authority, CCDA, were addressed today by the Minister responsible for Environment Conservation and Climate Change, Simo Kelepa. In his keynote address, Kelepa highlighted 4 key areas he will look to work at in his tenure as minister.
In a meet and greet this afternoon, key staff of both CEPA and CCDA, including the respective managing directors, gathered at the Stanley Hotel to give an update on the role and functions of the work conducted by the agency so far to the minister responsible for environment, conservation and climate change, Simo Kelepa. In giving an overview of the work of CCDA, Acting Managing Director William Lakain spoke on the importance to generate revenue for the government.
For the government's ambition, by 2030, government needs to see a national budget of 200 billion. So that is where we are going. Our interim actions are those 3 priority areas. Apart from doing routine work, corporate plans, annual operation plans.
His counterpart, CEPA Managing Director Gunta Joku, gave a rundown of the history of CEPA, including some key highlights. Other key staff members and managers of various divisions also shared the work they have done in their respective divisions for both environmental organizations. In his keynote address to both agencies, the Minister for Environment, Conservation and Climate Change, Simo Kelepa, highlighted 4 things he wanted to do in his tenure as minister.
First, I want to secure a permanent office to accommodate both CEPA, organization, CEPA and CCDA, and establish a staff housing scheme. These projects will bring the best out of the public servants as you serve the government, as well as bring long-term solutions for government to own office building rather than being tenants. Secondly, I want to move CEPA and CCDA out of the provinces, districts and agencies, so we are visible and present in our communities in order to strengthen, coordinate and...
Recapping the 4 areas the minister highlighted: a staff housing scheme, permanent office space to accommodate both agencies, moving CEPA and CCDA out to the provinces, districts and LLGs, and a strong media and communication strategy to move climate change forward as a national government agenda. Rocky Iso, National MTV News.
Today is the World Mental Health Day, set by the World Health Organization domestically. Celebrations were around of the country. Meanwhile, in the University of Papua New Guinea, students and staff commemorated the day to raise awareness on mental health. The event was held at the UPNG Forum Square in Port Moresby.
In this small yet significant event today, PNG Defence Force, St. John Ambulance, Mama Bank and other organizations came together to celebrate the World Mental Health Day with the students and staff of UPNG. The keynote speaker, Dr. Monica Hakali, elaborates on what mental health is all about.
Mental health actually encompasses emotional, psychological and social well-being. It is what influences the way we think, how we perceive things and how we behave. And basically it also determines how an individual handles stress and interpersonal relationships and decision making.
She further stated that mental health is about well-being, in which mental and physical health work hand in hand. University of Papua New Guinea Vice Chancellor Professor Frank Griffin, in his address, said it's good to keep open mind about it, as mental health has different forms.
It is important that we understand that mental health comes in different forms. In some countries, mental health is not referred to as mental health because most times mental health is mistakenly referred to as mental illness. And mental illness is not the same as mental health. It is part and parcel of it, but it is not the same thing.
In support of Professor Griffin, Dr. Monica Hakali said there are different types of stress that different people at different age group go through. She further stated that in order to cope with all this stress, people need to eat well, rest well, and have good exercise. Executive Dean for School of Humanities and Social Science, Professor Leo Marai, said mental health is significant because without mental health, there is no health. He further stressed that we should care for people who are mentally ill as well.
Hosting the World Mental Health event here at UPNG, I believe is helping us to raise awareness about mental health, advocate for those who are affected by it, educate people and raise their consciousness about its impact, and helps us to identify and access mental health services and resources. We also utilize this event to educate our university community about the warning signs of mental health issues so that we can help keep ourselves, our families and community members safe.
Everyone is at risk of developing mental illness, so we should stand together to talk about it. Therefore, today's World Mental Health Day was celebrated with a theme, Make Mental Health and Well-being for All a Global Priority. Thomas Suliambari, National MTV News.
Two warring tribes from Pogera Payala district, the Nomale and Ayala tribe in Enga province, have finally laid down firearms and restored peace amongst them. This peace mediation for the two warring factions was a call made by the newly elected member for the new electorate for Pogera Payala, Maso Karipe. For almost 5 years, this tribal war has been ongoing, resulting in hundreds of lives lost and families dispersed. For this year alone, in May and August, around 40 lives have been lost just within the extent of 3 months. These two warring factions, the Nomale tribe and the Ayala tribe, have been rebellious over a piece of land at Kairik, where the Pogera Kairik airstrip is. The Nomale were fighting the Ayala, who were blamed to be harbored by another tribe, that is the Kungrin tribe. As a result, the Kungrin tribe have been displaced and have left their villages and taken up refuge in other districts and provinces. The member for Pogera Payala, Maso Karipe, took the stance as his first role as appointed member to intervene in this hostile situation in his district. He invited a police contingent from police headquarters who flew into Pogera last week to assess the overall law and order situation. Following this, a peace talks between the Nomale tribe and the Kungrin tribe occurred in Payam town. The leader of the Nomale tribe, Po'o Wapope, assured the member and the security forces that he will lay down arms and allow the Kungrins to settle back to their land, which his tribe, the Nomales, destroyed and took over. Meanwhile, the Kungrin tribe leader Daniel Wakape, who is also the current Lord Mayor of Pogera, also appreciated the gesture made by the Nomales and said he and his family fled to Mount Hagen and will come back to Pogera to settle. Those who did not attend the meeting later agreed and ensured the member and law and order officers that they too will participate and will lay down firearms. The Deputy Commissioner of Police, who spoke on behalf of the police delegate, also urged the warring factions to lay down arms and work towards peace. This peace mediation was the member Karipe's first official engagement after he was elected into parliament, and that he ensured to give law and order a priority before he considered other projects and services in the district. He stressed that the Pogera gold mine will reopen and he wants the people to settle peacefully to enjoy the benefits. following the violence that erupted at Arima in Mosby, Northeast Electorate, in the nation's capital. Business houses have been closed for business. Other service, including the transportation within the troubled zone, has ceased to operate.
Following the ethnic clashes that erupted yesterday and continue to today, business houses within the vicinity of Arima have been closed. The biggest supermarket, J-Mart, as well as other operating under the overhead bridge, were closed. The streets were empty. Public motor vehicles also withdrew their transportation services from Gordons to Arima to 8 Mile and 9 Mile. Police were on the ground to monitor the situation. The fight escalated from the death of 2 people who were reportedly killed in a fight between the Ellis and the Eastern Islands settling near Arima. Sharon Engnui, National EMTV News.
And now looking at the Nest Fund market report, the Kina closed unchanged at $0.2840 US in the interbank market. At Bank South Pacific, your Kina was buying $0.2765 US, $0.4329 Australian dollars, $0.2773 euro, 39.84 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold is trading lower, coffee closed higher, cocoa closed higher, copper closed lower, palm oil closed higher, crude oil is trading lower, copper closed lower. On the stock market, the Dow Jones closed lower, the ASX 200 is trading lower, the All Ordinaries is trading lower. National EMTV News continues after the break with more stories. Stay with us. Welcome back to National EMTV News. The St. John's Ambulance today opened their new Ambulance Operations Center at the St. John's Ambulance headquarters in Port Moresby. The cost of the building was about 1.5 million kina. Present to witness the event was the Health Minister, Dr. Tom Lino, Minister for Foreign Affairs, and other parliamentarians, together with departmental heads and many other invited guests.
The event started with an opening prayer by Ken White from the Department of Health. In the opening remarks, the Commissioner for St. John's Ambulance in PNG, Matt Cannon, thanked the partners for the support that was given to them in the past years and are continuing to support. Cannon further highlighted how the St. John's Ambulance has been doing and how many calls they have received per day to help people, especially in the emergency cases.
Many may ask, what are the benefits of coordinated ambulance care? Should this be a priority? To be 1 hour from hospital, it is a priority. The standout benefit of investment in ambulance services is through the introduction of coordinated services is shown through research to help a country or a community to halve the number of women that die giving life. For emergencies, ambulance services commonly manage medical, obstetric, paediatric patients and respond with conditions that are common burden of disease. And finally, another benefit is effective disaster response. Coordinated ambulance services provide the foundation for effective response and emergency management to mass casualty incidents.
Minister for Health, Dr. Tom Lino, thanked St. John's Ambulance hardworking staff for the continuous and tireless job they've been doing every 24 hours per day. Dr. Lino says Marape Rosso government is at the back of this St. John's Ambulance as this organization is working in line with the government new health policy on access to health services must be reached between an hour.
The center is an initiative of the Marape Rosso government and will be pivotal in coordinating many ambulances around the nation. This is part of the government's commitment to expand the St. John's Ambulance emergency service to all provincial centers by 2030. This new operations center will handle close to 700,000 calls to the national 111 free emergency number, and its dispatch personnel will coordinate ambulances responding to over 25,000 emergencies each year. The government believes in our St. John's ambulance, and that is why we have invested in this operation center. The center will play an important role as we further grow and develop the coordination of ambulance, both the St. John's emergency ambulances and that of our important PHA ambulances in the districts.
Chair Lady for St. John's Ambulance, Dame Jean Kekedo, also thanked the sponsors who were continuously supporting the organization.
UNPMs, we wouldn't have moved. Thank you, Chair KCMH.
The event concluded with Kumul Consolidation Holdings presenting a check of 1 million kina to St. John's Ambulance to continue to expand into the other parts of the country. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
With the incidents and attacks towards the St. John's Ambulance, the St. John's Ambulance Act will be reviewed to help protect the ambulance worker. This was said by the Minister for Health, Dr. Tom Lino, during an opening of St. John's Ambulance Operations Center.
Commissioner for St. John's Ambulance in PNG, Matt Cannon, gave an insight on how ambulance drivers have been attacked while on the line of duties, especially in the early hours of morning.
Our great challenge now is ensuring the wider community projects and support, the wider community supports and protects the work that ambulance officers do. It pains me every time I get a message in the morning, usually at 3 a.m, that ambulance officers have been attacked doing their job in our communities. The cost to the ambulance officers is immeasurable. The cost from the damage to the vehicles is 100,000, but the fact that our officers are injured.
Cannon says receiving text messages in the early hours of 3 o'clock morning and about his staff being attacked was not good for him. Minister for Health, Dr. Tom Lino, says there will be a review in the St. John's Ambulance Act to protect the workers.
Papua New Guinean men and women who make the work of St. John's possible. In particular today, those who will operate this new operation center. Thank you very much. This is why we must do everything we can to ensure you are safe at work and go home to your one-talks at the end of your shift. For this reason, we must make sure that ambulance officers are protected and empowered by law. For many years, we have talked about reviewing the St. John's Council Act to provide protections for officers to do their jobs. It pains me every time I hear of unprovoked attacks and damages to ambulances and to their equipment. I give my support to an amendment being made to the St. John's Council Act to protect our ambulance officers, to try reduce nuisance calls to the 111 number, and make sure that we define what an ambulance officer is and empower them to practice, and that includes administering essential first aid medicines.
Dr. Lino further added he will be working closely with the Health Secretary to get the review done. This will help St. John Ambulance to work between these laws and also for protection purposes. Samantha Solomon, National EMTV News.
The government stands ready to support the Directorate of Social Change and Mental Health Services in making sure Papua New Guinea become a healthy and happy society by 2050. Minister for Health and HIV/AIDS, Dr. Tom Lino, said these remarks in commemorating the World Mental Health Day today.
Minister for Health and HIV/AIDS, Dr. Tom Lino, says mental health alone contributes to a number of deaths in the country. Minister Lino said it is important for health system in the country to be prepared to deal with mental health challenges faced by the population.
I believe our government and other stakeholders must apply universal preventive measures that reduce the risk of mental ill health. This includes the promotion of social inclusion policies, support and direct investment for vulnerable populations, and investment in communities and young people to reduce crime.
Minister Lino said the country needs a new compact for mental health to enhance and enable the people to contribute to mental health in their communities. He said the government has entrusted the Directorate as PNG's solution in mental health.
As a responsible government, we must all work together in partnership and close collaboration to implement the following policies: the National Mental Health Policy, the National Traditional Medicine Policy, the National Alcohol Policy. The Vision 2050 states that our intention is to transform our people and our nation by reforming our mindset and attitudes. It will provide the direction to reform and align our institutions and systems to make Papua New Guinea become a smart, wise, fair, healthy and happy society by 2050.
The Directorate of Social Change and Mental Health Services is entrusted to implement 3 policies. They are National Mental Health Policy, National Medicine Policy, and the National Alcohol Policy.
So these 3 policies are, I think, is a very important policies in our lifetime to ensure that each person in any part of the country, especially in the villages, most of the time you will see it takes a long time to walk to a place to get help from the health services. So the traditional medicine policy is basically to integrate and to accept and to understand the traditional medicine is existing, but
With these 3 policies in place, Minister Lino says the government stands committed in seeing that they are implemented. Cynthia Maku, National EMTV News.
You're watching National EMTV News. Trukai Sports is next. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome to Trukai Sports. And the Port Moresby Rugby League successfully hosted its 73rd year of Rugby League Grand Final yesterday at the Santos National Football Stadium. The Under-20 men's division saw Royals and Cornerstorms battle it out to commencing the 2022 Port Moresby Rugby League Grand Finals yesterday.
The games commenced at around 11:30, which saw the grand finalists in the Under-20 men's division, the Royals and Cornerstorms, go head-to-head. Royals claimed the title 6-0 at full time. The second clash saw in the senior women's division, Tarangau losing the fight to the defenses of Gulf West with 18-14 points victory with only 4 points difference. While in the main match of the day, contested in the senior men's division, saw Royals showcasing great dominance over the defenses of Dobo Warriors right throughout the match. Chants of supporters, fans and families echoed the main grandstand in favor of the Royals as they cruised their way through to end the game with the 2022 Port Moresby Rugby League Premiership title with a 22-4 victory. A super excited Royals head coach, Junior Yambe, shared his sentiments with the media.
They've been waiting and we don't have additional players in the team and only we have 2 boys in charge like Super George and Josh Erico. So I think the boys deserve the win because they've been waiting for months.
Meanwhile, presentations of awards were given to the divisional winners for claiming the 2022 league title. The Port Moresby Rugby League competition administrator, Mackenzie Minor, also presented word of thanks to the management throughout the season.
Port Moresby Rugby League, the owners of the event today. I'd like to make quick mention for our chairman, Dr. James Naipau, and one more mention to the 2 men behind the mic running the run shift.
Lisa Puni, Trukai Sports.
Trukai Sports continues after the break. Stay with us.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. The countdown of the 2022 Rugby League World Cup is now down to 5 days before the championship officially kick off in England. EMTV is the exclusive broadcaster of the 2022 Rugby League World Cup. The City Pharmacy Limited has come on board to support Santos PNG Orchids in their Rugby League World Cup campaign with a donation of health and hygiene packs. The hygiene packs were presented by Head of Pharmacy, Mr. Pradeep Panda, to the National Women's Squad last week. In receiving the hygiene packs, Santos PNG Orchids Chair Lady Okari Yogi acknowledged CPL, saying, "We are indeed fortunate to have the support of City Pharmacy." And that ends True Kai Sports. The weather report is next. Stay with us.
True Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
This weather update is proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And now we take a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours. In the southern region, Port Moresby City, chances of rain showers and thunderstorms, then cloudy. Daru, few showers. Kavieng, Kerema, evening shower or two. Alotau, partly cloudy, fine. Popondetta, rain periods and thunderstorms, then cloudy. In Momase region, Lay City, few showers and possible thunderstorms. Madang, partly cloudy with evening showers and thunderstorms. Wewak, few showers and thunderstorms, then cloudy. Vanimo, few showers and thunderstorms, then cloudy. In the New Guinea Islands region, in Lorengau, partly sunny, fine. Kavieng, sunny, fine. Kokopo and Rabaul, mostly fine. Kimbe, fine, partly cloudy, with afternoon showers and possible thunderstorms. Buka, mostly fine. In the Highlands region, Mount Hagen City, cloudy with few showers and possible thunderstorms. Goroka and Kundiawa, few showers and possible thunderstorms. Mendi and Wabeg, few afternoon showers with possible thunderstorms. Waters of southern PNG Indonesian border through Torres Strait to Daru, to Kiwai Islands, to Kerema, to Yule Island, to Hood Point, to Samarai Islands, seas 1 to 2 meters. Waters of Samarai Islands to Cape Vogel and eastern and western Milne Bay Islands, seas 0.5 to 1.5 meters. Waters north of Cape Vogel to Huon Gulf to Finchafen, seas 0.3 to 1 meter. Water of Finchafen through Vitia Strait to Siasi and Long Islands, seas 0.3 to 1.3 meter. Water north of Long Island to Medang to Wewak to Vanimo and northern PNG Indonesian border, seas 0.3 to 1.3 meters. Waters of Manus and its western group of islands, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Waters of New Island to New Britain and Bougainville, seas 0.5 to 1.3 meters. Now looking at the ocean forecast, Coral Sea, seas moderate east to southeast winds of 15 to 20 knots. Solomon Sea, seas smooth to slight, northeast winds of 5 to 15 knots. Bismarck Sea, sea slight, northeast to easterly winds of 10 to 15 knots. And Pacific Ocean, sea slight, east to southeast winds of 10 to 15 knots.
The weather update was proudly brought to you by MoniPlus, with you always.
And that wraps up the news, sports and weather for Monday, the 10th of October, 2022. From all of us here, pleasant viewing. Bye for now.